Hey everyone, this is Josh Hayward and welcome to episode 3 of 31 Days of Pumpkin. We've been through 2 thus far, and today we have the Shipyard Brewing Company Pumpkinhead. Before I start off with this one, we did the Weyerbacher Imperial Pumpkin Ale last night. I initially said, hey, this is a pretty good brew. As I continued to sip on it, I couldn't drink any more of it. Just very boozy tasting, lots of alcohol in it. Just wasn't pleasant to drink once I got about 6 or 8 sips into it. I couldn't finish it. So I did want to make that correction. Sometimes, and that's a good point too, like initially when you taste a beer, you may like it, but after a few sips in, your opinion changes. So nothing wrong with that, but did want to tell you guys. So like I said, we've got the Shipyard Pumpkinhead. Shipyard is actually out of Portland, Maine, I believe. You've probably heard of Shipyard. They distribute kind of all around. They're out of Maine, but I find them down here in the southeast quite often. So this is a brew that's put out year after year. As a matter of fact, the label hasn't changed in probably 7 years or so. So Shipyard Pumpkinhead tonight. Hopefully you guys can find this one out and about if you would like to try it. But let's see what we've got. All right. Put the bottle there. Let's see. All right, so as you can see, we have a very clear, completely transparent brew here. And the first thing that this tells me, as we mentioned in one of the previous videos, a lot of these pumpkin beers have that characteristic haze that comes from the fruit or the pulp of the pumpkin. You're not seeing much of this in here. So before I've even tasted it, I'm kind of tipped off. This may not have any real pumpkin in it. We'll find out here in a few minutes. After giving it a taste, but it is a pale, kind of a pale golden color almost. There's a little bit of an orangish tint in that, not much though. Hardly any head on it. A little bit of a white head after you give it a little swirl. There's lots of aromas coming from this beer just by giving it a swirl there. But yeah, not a whole lot going on. Very transparent, very clear. A little bit of effervescence in there, but let's see what we've got on the nose. Again, with these pumpkin beers, sometimes you just have to clear your nasal passageways to really register what you're getting. I'll say this: I'm actually getting some hops in this particular pumpkin ale. It's something that we didn't necessarily have in the last 2. There's just so much pumpkin spice in it, and fall spices, the nutmeg, the cinnamon, the clove, ginger, those types of things, that a hop aroma was not detected. I'm getting a little bit of that in here actually, and that's actually very pleasant. Not much maltiness, but definitely some hoppiness. Maybe even some yeasty type tones. I'm thinking, some of the German beers that I've had, you can detect that yeasty type smell in there. I'm not getting much autumn spice in here at all, but yeah, this is very different from the last 2 that we've had in appearance and on the nose, and we're about to see on the taste. So cheers. That's an interesting beer. At first taste, I don't like it, and I will be the first to say, you're going through 31 days of different pumpkin beers, you're going to come across some that you don't like. Not much maltiness, maybe a little bit on the front side, maybe some pale malt. I'm getting a little bit of a hoppy tone in there, not much. It's really overshadowed by another flavor in here, and I'm having a tough time placing it. It's almost like they've added an extract or something to it, because there's a sweet, like a funky sweetness to it, and then there's also kind of a really unpleasant bitter aftertaste at the end. It's just the face I'm making. It's a tough one to drink. It's kind of like almost like syrup in a way, like how they put some of these pumpkin spice syrups and coffees and drinks and things like that. It's almost like they took a batch of beer and poured some of this syrup in it. I have no idea. Sorry, Shipyard, if that's not how you've done it. That's just what I'm taking in. almost kind of a sweet potato flavor in there too. I've heard some folks talk about like a sweet potato and like the cinnamon butter kind of flavor, but it's that's not a favorite for sure. But that's why we're doing this 31 days of pumpkin, looking at all these different beers. If you've had this one, let me know what you thought. If you liked it, if you kind of had the same kind of reaction I did, let me know that as well, so that I know I'm not completely off base. But that's an odd one. I like the artwork, and I like the jack-o'-lantern on the guy's head, and he's holding the pint of beer there. But I do not like this beer. I would not drink it again. Just definitely not a favorite. It's like they tried to make it pumpkin by adding some syrup or some other type of thing. It's just there's some weird stuff going on here. It's just not pleasant on the taste buds at all. But that's my opinion though. But that's the great thing about tasting these brews. Everyone's palates are different. Everyone's going to discern different types of flavors and tastes. Some things are more dominant for some people than others, but that's why we do it. So thank you guys so much for following along. Day 3, 31 days of pumpkin. Cheers. Take care.